All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City's March 10th, 2022 virtual hearing. My name is Nicholas Blendy, and I am the Deputy Executive Secretary for the board. To briefly go over the outline of today's hearing packet, you can see what we'll be discussing on the screen. First, an introduction to the Webex platform. Cisco Webex is the online meeting platform that the City of Baltimore uses to conduct all of its virtual hearings. The Board of Estimates, the City Council, and the Planning Department have been using Webex to hold virtual meetings since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. To fully use the Webex system, members of the public should have access to a laptop, iPad, smartphone, or similar device with camera and microphone capabilities. Um, if you don't have microphone capabilities to your smart device, then you'll need to use the phone number below in order to call in, as well as have your camera going. To participate, members of the public will need to have downloaded the WebEx app through their smartphones or clicked on the following link to access the hearing online. You can see that on the screen, the link, and then the access code 2399-151-3212, password BLLC1234, all caps. The BLC suggests that if you're going to use your smartphone, iPad, or similar device, that you download the application at least one day before the date of March 10th hearing to ensure that you have access to the program. If a member of the general public doesn't have access to a computer, smartphone, or similar device, they can call the number below and enter the access code to listen only to today's hearing, and that number is 408-418-9388, access code 2339-151-3212. All materials, evidence, and related items for today's docket are available on the board's website. Copies of the short docket, which provides a brief description of the cases before the board, as well as the long docket, which includes all the materials contained in the application, can be found on our website under the hyperlinks for March 10th, 2022, today's date. You can see the link on the screen as well. As far as evidence goes, the board observes a 48-hour rule for online hearings, meaning all evidence to be considered by the board can be found in the long docket, and the board will accept all evidence up to 48 hours before 11 a.m. today, meaning that all evidence for today's hearings needed to have been submitted no later than 11 a.m. on Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. Any evidence is submitted to the board later than that date and time, it is considered untimely and will not be considered by the board during the hearing. As always, all evidence should be submitted via email to the board's Assistant Executive Secretary, Ms. Stacy Russell, and her email address is on the screen. The board is not accepting documents in person. Related items, amendments to applications made by applicants or their representatives will not be accepted after February 24th, 2022, 14 days before all cases being heard today, March 10th, 2022. If an applicant or their representative attempts to amend the application being heard on March 10th, 2022, after that time, February 24th, 2022, the case will be automatically postponed. In addition to the posting of the 3/10/2022 docket online, licensees and applicants were mailed a letter instructing of them of the date and time of today's hearing. Going over the ground rules of how today is going to work, I, the Deputy Executive Secretary, will be reading these preliminary instructions and the general ground rules for the hearing process. I will be calling the cases in the order that they are on the screen for the long docket. I will then ask for the applicant and his or her representative to identify themselves, and if applicable, have the applicant and any supporting witnesses sworn in. The board will provide an opportunity, will conduct a hearing and provide an opportunity for the applicant and his or her representative to present their case. The board can ask questions of the attorney or the applicant. Upon conclusion of the case, Chair will ask individuals who are on this virtual hearing and who have access to the necessary computer, smartphone, iPad, or similar device if they would like to testify in support or opposition to the application. If you do wish to testify, then you will have to use the raise your hand feature and be recognized. Identify yourself, sworn in, and then testify. All individuals who testify are subject to questioning by the board and cross-examination by the attorney or the applicant. And if you have access only to a phone, you will not have opportunity to testify. After all testimony and evidence is presented to the board will then vote on the application that is before them. The Assistant Executive Secretary will then read all the exhibits into the record. The board is not authorized to discuss any non-case related matters today. It is sitting in its quasi-judicial capacity, and therefore authorized only to hear testimony evidence related to cases before it on today's docket. Not authorized to discuss any other cases not on today's docket or any policy related matters during today's virtual hearing. Some general ground rules and helpful information for today's hearing. Please mute yourself when you are not speaking to minimize feedback and extra noise. Please identify yourself and state the spelling of your name before you speak. Please speak slowly and in a clear voice so that the court reporter understands what is being said and who is saying it. Please note that this event is running live on Charm TV and that a court reporter is present. Individuals who use profanity or disrespectful or unruly may be expelled from today's virtual hearing. All attendees, applicants, licensees that wish to provide testimony must be sworn prior to giving such testimony. There will be no physical evidence taken at today's hearing. And again, absolutely no amendments to any applications can be made at the time of the hearing. Some helpful reminders. Please be prepared, read the materials ahead of time, test your video conferencing platform and the like. Location matters. Please try to find a quiet space with good light and strong internet connection so you can be seen and heard clearly. Please be present and not multitask. And please be patient. Above all, be patient with yourself and others. And I see we have succeeded in entering and Commissioner Jones is also here. So what a wonderful thing to see this morning, Mr. Chair. We have all three commissioners and the short docket is on the screen.
Okay, fine. So good morning, everybody. Why don't we get started?
Good morning.
Then with that, the first item on today's docket is, if the slide will, there it goes. Licensee Prabin Bhandari and Bradley Guy Restivo, GNP LLC, trading as New Edison Lounge and Liquors, 3133 to 35 East Monument Street. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. They request for a transfer hardship extension of 90 days under the provision of Alcoholic Beverages Article 12-1705B. And Mr. Boozer is counsel, and Ms. Kearns, who is this that you're telling me is the? I don't see Mr. Boozer's name, but I'm told someone is here.
Can you bring him on and see who it is?
I'm working. Ms. Kearns, can you hear me? All right.
That was for the commissioner. My apologies.
Okay. Okay, I see that. So I do not see Mr. Boozer here. So should we move to the next matter, Mr. Chair? Or how do you want to proceed?
If there's no one else here on number one, let's pass it and come back to it.
Okay, we shall do that. Then the second item on the board's docket today is Irene A. Sims, personal representative, Sean Sandman Incorporated, trading as Sandmans. Premises are located at 708 South Baylor Street. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license with a request for a hardship extension of 180 days under the provisions of the Alcoholic Beverages Article 12-2202. And Mr. Harvey is counsel on this case and has been moved into the room. And Ms. Sims is also here and has been moved into the room, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Harvey. Would you identify yourself for the record, please?
For the substitute licensee, Irene Sims, who is present, but I'd like to proffer, if you don't mind.
You can. I think you were cut off at the beginning, Mr. Harvey. Could you just state your name again for the record, please?
Okay, certainly. Sean Harvey, 309 South Conkling Street, Baltimore, 21224, for the substitute licensee, Irene Sims, who is present.
Okay. We have your letter of January 18th, so you want to tell us what's going on with this license?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The original licensee, Sean Sims, passed away unexpectedly on September 27th, 2021. And the tavern was closed as a result on October 3rd, 2021. Ms. Sims, as I said, who is present, was appointed personal representative of her late brother's estate on October 27th, 2021. And I filed with your offices a substitute application to have her become the substitute licensee for her late brother, and that was granted on November 16th, 2021. The idea was for the estate to sell the tavern, and it has been listed for sale. As a matter of fact, there's a signed contract. But in order to be safe, to preserve the license, I filed a request for this hardship extension under 122202 on January 18th of this year. And that was timely filed. There have been no other requests for an extension filed with this board, and there may already be a pending application with your office at this time. But just as I said, to be safe, we wanted to make sure that the license was preserved.
I understand.
So request that the application for hardship extension be granted.
Thank you. Do the commissioners have any questions?
None.
No questions.
Okay. Is there anyone else who wants to testify on this, Mr. Blundy?
If any member of the public wishes to be heard on this matter before the board, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. No one has raised their hand, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Harvey, on the basis then of your written request of January 18, 2022, and your proffer this morning, a vote to approve a 180-day hardship extension for the sale of this license. Commissioners?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, based on testimony provided today, I vote to approve the request for hardship extension of 180 days.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Based on the application file and the information received today, I vote to approve the 180-day extension, hardship extension.
Thank you. Ms. Russell?
No, zip is for the record.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Good luck with that.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensing and council will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with the results of today's ruling by the board. Mr. Chair, I still don't have anyone for number one, so shall we move forward?
Yes, please.
And the next matter before the board today, if you allow me to do some Webex housekeeping. Applicant Patrick James Hudson, Lawrence and Fort LLC, trading as The Local Oyster. Proposed premises are located at 838 East Fort Avenue. This is an amended application to transfer ownership and location of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license presently located at 1538 East Clement Street to 838 East Fort Avenue, requesting outdoor table service and off-premises catering. Mr. Woolman is counsel on this, and the applicant is also in the room, Mr. Chair. And for the chair's edification, this is the one where there was some question about notice.
Right. Ms. Woolman, will you identify yourself for the record, please?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Joseph R. Woolman III on behalf of the applicant.
Yeah, as Mr. Blundy pointed out, we received late a letter of support from the Riverside Community Association, which contend that this property was not properly posted. So I've asked Mr. Blundy to take a look at that and tell us what the situation is.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as you know, the alcoholic beverages article at 12-1506B requires notice be posted on a location in order for the board to be able to move forward with a hearing. If any member of the public or anyone in the room looks on the long docket number 1 for today's date, from pages 22 through 27 on the long docket, there is the proof that notice was properly posted with photos of the sign and that was revisited 10 days after, as is required by the state statute, and signed by a BLLC inspector, Chase. So that is also all evidence contained in all the commissioners' packets, but as far as I can tell, there is evidence that the board can consider whether or not notice of posting was satisfied.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm satisfied that it was. So, Mr. Woolman, this is an amended application, transfer ownership and location. You want to tell us about it?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. And then just as an aside, we have our own photographs of the posting that the board conducted on the property, and happy to share that with the community. We discussed it with the community. I'm not sure why it was still raised in the letter, but thank you for hearing from us today. My clients are here. If it pleases the board, I'll proffer a hearing outline that I did submit to Mr. Blendy. It was inside the 48 hours, so I know it's not evidence in front of the board. So if it pleases the board, I'll proffer the contents of that hearing at this time. Patrick Hudson is here with us. He's the applicant from the local oyster. The licensed premises is located or will be located at 838 East Fort Avenue. This is an application for the transfer of a Class BD7 license, requesting outdoor table service, catering, and delivery of alcohol. The property, and some of you may be familiar with this intersection. I know Commissioner Reisinger is familiar. This is the corner of Fort Avenue and Lawrence Street, the former Rollo's Big Maddie's Diner, which had been there for a long time. And the property is part of the overall Anthem House and Anthem 2 developments, which we've been working on for many years. The premises is going to include outdoor seating to the rear. There is a floor plan that we attached with our application, if you care to reference that. Patrick Hudson, as I mentioned, is the individual applicant. He's familiar with the rules and regulations of the Baltimore City Liquor Board, and he pledges to abide by them. Mr. Hudson was born in Baltimore in 1985 and lives in Baltimore, Maryland. Regarding community outreach, our team conducted extensive outreach with the Riverside Neighborhood Association and agreed to a postponement of these proceedings in order to present the restaurant project to the RNA at its most recent general meeting, which was on February 28th, 2022. We're pleased to report we've garnered the support of the RNA, and I believe the letter was actually delivered a little bit late, but this morning in support of our application. Regarding the criteria the board must consider to approve the application under Alcoholic Beverages Article Section 12-1603C3 as follows. A, the public need and desire for the license. The ability to serve alcohol as a complement to the restaurant will enhance its ability to provide a unique service to the residents and visitors to the Riverside neighborhood. Number and location of existing license holders. There are 12 other licenses in the area. This is a very vibrant commercial area. According to BLC records, 6 of those are Class BD7 licenses. C, the potential effect on existing license holders of the license for which application is made. The location of the license complements and will add to a vibrant commercial intersection that already includes a variety, of restaurants and venues. D, the potential commonality or uniqueness of the services and products to be offered by the businesses of the applicant. The operators intend to offer a unique menu at a one-of-a-kind location. As an aside, Local Oyster has enjoyed some great success at their other locations. They've received quite a bit of notoriety. There's even been a Netflix feature on one of their sandwiches. I know the neighborhood's excited about them coming into the neighborhood. E, the impact of the license for which application is made on the health, safety, and welfare of the community, including issues related to crime, traffic, parking, or convenience. The operators have made significant improvements to the property. This is a construction project. As someone who lives in the area, I can tell you, has been going on for quite some time, and there's been significant improvements to that corner and the streetscape, and they'll continue to seek the input of the surrounding businesses and the residents regarding the health, safety, and welfare of the community. Any other factor the board may consider necessary. The operator and the manager are experienced in the industry. As I mentioned, they've enjoyed well-publicized success at their other locations. They are both here, both our manager, Mr. Shawman, and the applicant, Mr. Hudson, as well as a representative from the owner of the property, Warhorse Cities, who owns the Anthem House and Anthem 2 and this real estate. We're all here to answer any questions the board may have.
Will the persons handling the alcohol be TAM certified?
I believe they already are certified. Mr. Shawman or Mr. Hudson, could you quickly confirm that?
They would need to be sworn if they're going to testify.
Yeah. Did you want one of them?
My understanding is that they are tip certified, but I would want to make sure that's accurate before I state that for the record. And if not, I'm sure they will plan to be.
All right. Well, do you want them sworn or not?
If the board is happy to accept my proffer that they either currently are or will be before the opening, that's fine with us if the board's willing to accept that.
Okay. The commissioners have any questions for Mr. Woolman?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
None.
Ms. Bundy, are there others who wish to testify?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. Mr. Chair, no one has raised their hand.
On the basis then of the materials contained in this amended application and the extensive proffer by Mr. Woolman, as well as the letter of support from the Riverside Neighborhood Association, I vote to approve the amended application to transfer ownership and location of this Class BD7 license presently located at 1538 East Clement Street to 838 East Fort Avenue with outdoor table service and off-premises catering. Commissioners?
I too, based on the application file and the proffer given by the attorney, I approve the amended application to transfer ownership and location of a Class BD7
What is that?
liquor wine and beer, wine and liquor license presently located at 1538 East Clement Street to 838 East Fort Avenue. Also requesting outdoor table service and off-premise catering.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, based on the testimony provided today, I also approve the amended application, transfer ownership and location of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license presently located at 1538 East Clement Street to 838 East Fort Avenue, and also requesting outdoor table service and off-premise catering.
Ms. Russell?
No exhibits for the record.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Woolman. Good luck to your clients.
Thank you very much. Nice to see everyone this morning.
That concludes this matter before the board. Applicant will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with instructions on how to legally complete the transfer of ownership and location that the board preliminarily approved today, which by law must occur within 180 days of today's hearing. Mr. Chair, are we ready to move forward?
We are.
One more moment for Webex housekeeping. Then item number 4 on today's docket. This is Stephen W. Stansbury II, The One Sports Bar and Lounge LLC, trading as trade name pending. Premises are located at 4314 to 16 Curtis Avenue. This is a request for a transfer hardship extension of 90 days under the provisions of the Alcoholic Beverages Article 12-1705B for a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license. Mr. Kadensky is counsel and is in the room, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, Mr. Kadensky. Please identify yourself for the record.
For the record, Melvin J. Kadensky. I'm not counsel for Mr. Stansbury. I'm counsel for the secured party in this case, as per my letter and will request. I know there were some negotiations concerning completing this and possible foreclosure, so we're requesting the extra 90 days to determine whether this can be completed or not.
Okay, so we have your letter of February 16, 2022. So there's going to be a transfer, you think, within the next 90 days?
Either it'll be transferred or they'll complete the foreclosure that was pending, but I'm not doing the foreclosure part of it. That's why we're asking for the additional time.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
None.
No questions.
Do we have anyone else who wants to address this issue, Mr. Blundy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. Mr. Chair, no one has raised their hand.
Mr. Kadensky, on the basis of your letter of February 16, 2022, as well as your proffer this morning, I vote to approve a 90-day transfer hardship extension for this license. Commissioners?
Mr. Chair, based on the testimony provided today, I approve the request for transfer hardship extension of 90 days.
I approve the request for a 90-day transfer hardship extension based on the application file and the information provided to us today.
Thank you. Ms. Russell?
No exhibits for the record.
All right. Well, thanks, Mr. Kadensky. Good luck.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Applicant will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with the results of today's proceedings before the board. Mr. Chair, are we ready to move to the next one?
We are.
And the next one is also Mr. Kadensky's client, licensee Joshua Patel, Ganga Prasad Adhikari, and Rom B. KC, 517 Broadway LLC, trading as Blue Bay Bar and Liquors. Premises are located at 3724 Eastern Avenue. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license and a request to add live entertainment to their current license.
For
Mr.
the,
Cadensky, go ahead.
for the record, Melvin J. Kadensky, 320 North Charles Street, representing the licensees.
You tell us what they have planned.
Yeah, and this particular location on the board is familiar with because they had some problems with minors. They're trying to change the way they're operating to have live entertainment and dancing in the way of DJs and small groups, mainly on the weekends to start with. And for some reason, it's on the license, but it's somehow when the original attorney filed the application, he failed to check the block. If you look on the license, it says continue to use a first floor retail liquor store and bar tavern, subject condition of BMZA approved on 11/7/17. That was an approval for live entertainment and dancing. And so it's already been approved zoning wise and it's on the license, but for some reason it wasn't formally put in the original application.
Commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
And do we have anyone else who wants to testify on this?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. No one has raised their hand, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Well, Mr. Kadensky, you're correct that they have a long history of violations and it's troublesome, but this is merely an addition to add live entertainment to the license, which may have already been intended at some point. But I would just caution them to be careful and to be cognizant of what the community will tolerate, because they don't want to be back in front of us for any more violations. I wouldn't be favorable to that. So having said that, and on the basis of the application and the proffer, I would vote to approve their request to add live entertainment to this BD7 license. Commissioners?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm also concerned about the violations, but based on the testimony provided today, I also approve the request to add live entertainment.
I also echo the same concerns as the other commissioners, but again, I also approve the request to add live entertainment based on the application filed and the testimony presented today.
Ms. Russell?
Michael, exhibits for the record, Board Exhibit 1, Maryland State ID and voter registration, and Exhibit number 2, petition of support.
Thank you, Mr. Kadensky. Please pass along our concerns and good luck to them.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I understand. I just got an alert. You know, he said alert. Mr. Hurdle will be coming in, I think, on behalf of Mr. Boozer for the first case, because Mr. Boozer's in court, but I think Mr. Hurdle's going to try to get in on that extension. And my clients are here, and certainly forewarned is forearmed with regard to your advice.
All right, will you let us know when Mr. Hurdle's available, okay?
So he is here, and if the board, the remaining 3 on the docket are all Mr. Fogelman, so if the board would like to take him next, we could do that.
All right, let's go back to the first case then.
Okay, then let me clean this up, Mr. Chair. That concludes this matter before the board. Licensees will receive follow-up correspondence with this with the results of today's hearing with instructions on how to obtain the updated license that contains the live entertainment that was approved today by the board.
Thank you.
So then let me housekeep, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Hurdle is in the room, and I will go back and call the case per your instructions.
Thank you.
Item number 1 on today's docket, recalling Prabin Bandari and Bradley Guy Restivo, GNP LLC, trading as New Edison Lounge and Liquors. Premises are located at 3133 to 35 East Monument Street. This is a request for a transfer hardship extension of 90 days under the provisions of Alcoholic Beverages Article 12-1705B of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. And Mr. Hurdle is in the room, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, Mr. Hurdle. Please identify yourself for the record.
Abraham Hurdle on behalf of GNP LLC, filling in for Mr. Frank Boozer, who is in court this afternoon.
Good morning, and we have Mr. Boozer's letter of January 12, 2022. Do you have anything to add to that?
There's not much to add. I represented the seller in this situation, and what I can say, just to give the board a little background as to why it took so long and why it's still, well, it is done, but we're just kind of wrapping up loose ends at this point. The seller had a lien from a previous seller, and then that previous seller died. So there was a lot of weird estate situations that had to be dealt with on this matter. We had to negotiate. We had to have a new person appointed to PR of the previously closed estate. And it just took a couple extra steps. We actually closed on this business. Everything closed about a week and a half ago. And I think it's just a matter of wrapping up the final inspections and things of that nature, which is the reason it was requested in January, is we were still ongoing with this estate issue.
Okay. Commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
None.
Anyone else, Mr. Blendy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature on the Webex platform. No one has raised their hand, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Hurdle, then on the basis of Mr. Boozer's letter of January 12 and your proffer this morning, I vote to approve this 90-day transfer hardship extension. Commissioners?
Mr. Chair, based on the testimony provided today, I also approve the request for transfer hardship extension of 90 days.
Based on the application file and the information heard today, I also approve the request for a 90-day transfer hardship extension.
Thank you, Ms. Russell.
No exhibits for the record.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Hurdle.
And that concludes this matter before the board, and licensees will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with the result of today's approval by the board. Let me go back in order, Mr. Chair.
Please.
And moving back to item number 6 on today's docket and moving counsel into the room, who is Mr. Fogelman, counsel for the remainder of the docket, commissioners. Item number 6, Nancy W. Cushman and Nancy C. Wolf, Meadow Mill Athletic Club Incorporated, trading as Meadow Mill Athletic Club. Premises are located at 3600 Clipper Mill Road. This is a Class B light beer and light wine license and a request for a 180-day hardship extension under the provisions of Alcoholic Beverages Article 12-2202.
Morning, Mr. Fogelman. Would you identify yourself, please?
Good morning, Your Honor. Stephen W. Fogelman. Can you see my client and I?
Actually, well, yes, now I can.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Your Honor. I'll be brief. As I mentioned in my letter of January 9th to the board, after nearly 3 decades of serving her community, Nancy Cushman and the Meadow Mill Athletic Club did close on or about July 30th of last year. They are in active attempts to sell the license, and they'd like another 180 days from January 26, 2022 in order to find a suitable buyer. I was aware that there was an interested party, but that deal fell through. So Ms. Cushman would like the extra time to market the license. Thank you.
Okay. The commissioners have any questions for Mr. Fogelman?
No questions.
Okay. Is anyone else interested in testifying, Mr. Blendy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter before the board, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. Mr. Chair, no one has raised their hand.
All right. On the basis then of your letter of January 9, 2022 and your proffer this morning, Mr. Fogelman, I vote to approve this 180-day hardship extension for this license. Commissioners?
Mr. Chair, based on testimony provided today by Mr. Fogelman, I also approve the request for a hardship extension of 180 days.
Based on the application file and the testimony given, I also approve the request for a 180-day hardship extension.
Thank you, Ms. Russell.
No exhibits for the record.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fogelman. Good luck.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensee will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with the results of today's proceedings. Mr. Chair, next matter ready?
Yes.
And also Mr. Fogelman's client, item number 7 on today's docket, licensee James Crawford, TRBMD LLC, trading as the Royal Blue. Premises are located at 1733 to 35 Maryland Avenue. This is a request for a transfer hardship extension of 90 days under the provisions of the Alcoholic Beverages Article 12-1705B for a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license.
Ms. Fogelman, one more time.
Yes, thank you. Stephen W. Fogelman. My client, James Crawford, is seated across from me. Can you see him?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So the transfer on this matter was approved on July 29th of last year. They had until January 25th to complete the transfer. We're requesting additional 90 days from January 25th. So it really only gives them about 6 or 7 weeks to finish this transfer. This is a neat concept. They've encountered some remodeling delays. They are almost finished, and they expect to be finished in the time. It's a restaurant group that involves folks who own Johnny Rad's, a pizzeria here in Fells Point, and Snake Hill Tavern in Highlandtown. So it's going to be really neat concept of different cuisines under the same roof. So we'd ask for those 90 days. Thank you very much, Your Honor and Commissioners.
Do the commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
None.
Do we have anyone who wishes to testify, Mr. Bundy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. Mr. Chair, no one has raised their hand.
Mr. Fogelman, on the basis then of your letter of January 9, 2022 and your proffer this morning, I vote to approve this 90-day transfer hardship extension for this BG7 license. Commissioners?
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, based on testimony provided today, I approve the request for transfer hardship extension for 90 days.
I approve the request for a 90-day transfer hardship extension based on the application filed and the testimony given today.
Thank you, gentlemen. Ms. Russell?
No exhibits for the record.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Fogelman. Good luck.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board today. Licensee will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with the results of today's hearing. Are we ready to move to the last matter, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Then also Mr. Fogelman's client, applicant Krishna Chetri, Kalika Enterprises of America LLC, trading as trade name pending. Proposed premises are located at 3800 East Lombard Street, number 13, known as 3872 East Lombard Street. This is an application to transfer ownership and location of a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license presently located at 628 South Broadway to 3800 East Lombard Street, number 13, known as 3872 East Lombard Street. And Mr. Fogelman is counsel.
Ms. Fogelman?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm here with Mr. Chetri. I imagine that we'll want to go ahead and swear in some witnesses.
Is he your only witness?
He is.
Okay, let's swear him in, please.
Thank you. Raise your right hand.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And if you can just speak up.
Speak up.
Ms. Fogelman, go ahead if you want a question. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chetri, you're the applicant for the transfer of this license to the Highland Town. You can put your hand down, sir. I'm sorry. You're the applicant for the license transfer application to Highlandtown Village Shopping Center. Isn't that right?
Yes.
All right. And you moved to Baltimore City last July 1st?
Yes.
Okay. You registered to vote here. You changed your driver's license?
Yes.
All right. And you've been sleeping on the second floor on Broadway for since that time?
Yes.
Okay. And tell me how this all happened. You have family members who are involved in hospitality business?
Yeah. My family, they own used to Broadway Liquors.
Mhm.
Now that they changed it to the tavern license, so I've been in this business with him, learning since last July.
All right. And what kind of things did you learn when you worked with him?
Yeah, try to learn that what kind of customer they have and what kind of customer we're gonna serve in the place. You know, I'm trying to open up on Lombard Street, in town village. So trying to get know that like what customer need.
Right. And what kind of products, when you started looking around for a place for a bottle shop, what kind of products did you see? out there in that far-flung northeast corner of Highlandtown?
Yeah, I checked a couple places, and I think we need like craft stuff, like craft beer, good quality wines, and spirit. Like we need that for our customer there.
Right.
So I didn't see around they're selling that kind of quality stuff in this area, about 1 mile in
Right.
this area. So I think people need it there.
So what specifically, what kind of craft products are you talking about? Like specific brands?
Well, I will sell local product. I will push it like a beer, like local beer, like Monument City, Full Tilt, like Ministry Brewing right there, and Checker Spot stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's the local.
And as far as craft spirits or local
yeah.
spirits,
Like Brody, Lingamore,
as far as the wine?
yeah,
Mhm.
St. Michael's, Maryland
Mhm.
product, and spirit I will sell. Push it online, Baltimore Spirits, Sagamore.
Mhm. Okay, and what kind of non-food products do you wish to offer?
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna definitely sell like charcuterie stuff, like hard cheese,
Mhm.
hard salami, and like salty product that goes with the wines.
Mhm. And what is your ID policy going to be with respect to customers?
Yeah, I will ask every customer. Actually, I will card if I see under 40. I'll card every customer. Ask ID for every time.
All right, and will all of your employees be alcohol management certified?
Yeah, they will.
All right, and the Highlandtown Village Shopping Center provides security, isn't that right?
Yeah, they have security.
They have security guards and a vehicle?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, would you be okay with adding security if it was needed?
Yeah, if I need it, yes. I
Okay,
will.
and Highlandtown Village has a giant parking lot, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so parking won't be an issue. All right, well, what are you gonna do if there's a problem with loiterers, for example?
Yeah, I will work with them, the management, plus I will do my best with I'll check every customer that when they buy stuff, they not go out there and drink it. I'll make sure that I'll call the cops anytime I need.
But specifically, if somebody buys alcohol in your store and then goes out front to drink it, what are you gonna do about that?
I'll gonna make them leave, and I will not sell them anymore.
Mhm. Likewise, if an intoxicated person is in front of your store or tries to purchase from your store, what will you do?
I will not sell.
Okay. All right. And in fact, right now with the vacant storefront there, there's quite a bit of loitering going on,
Yeah.
isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And how many people will you be employing at the store?
About 3.
And will you make sure that they're local and from the neighborhood?
Yes.
All right. Did you introduce or did you get a lot of people to sign a petition in support of your store?
Yes.
Okay. Have you personally heard anything negative about the concept of your bottle shop?
No.
Okay. And how far away are you from the nearest liquor license, as far as you know?
They're all the way other side of the village shopping center. It's about 2 blocks.
About 2 blocks?
Yeah.
And on the other side of the street?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm all the way into the other side.
Do you understand? Are you going to learn the rules and regulations of the Liquor Board for Baltimore City?
Yes, I will.
All right. And you've been trained by your family?
Yes.
Okay. I have no further questions. Let me think of the evidence. Oh, and you did provide us with your driver's license and proof of your voter registration here in the city, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I have no questions.
And
about
Do the commissioners have any questions for Mr. Chetri?
No questions.
None.
All right, so Mr. Bundy, do we have others who wish to testify?
We do, Mr. Chair. I know of at least Ms. Hecker and Mr. Maslin, and they may have additional people, so I can move them in and they can describe if the chair is okay with that. And
Yeah, well, Ms. Hecker and Mr. Maslin are attorneys, so they won't need to testify, but let's bring her in first and see what she has to say, and then we'll have Mr. Maslin.
okay, and just for before, so she is in the room, Mr. Chair. I do want to make one corrective action. As you have, commissioners, in your file, the letter of opposition from Highlandtown Neighborhood Association to this transfer. It is incorrectly stated on the screen for everyone who's here and participating, but I just wanted to state that there is one letter of opposition and the commissioners have it in their file. With that, Ms. Hecker's in the room, Mr. Chair.
And Mr. Chair, based on Mr. Blendy's comments, can I just open up his line of questioning for a very brief line?
With your client? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry. Okay, and Mr. Chetri, we did attend a general meeting of the Highlandtown Community Association to present our plans. Isn't that right?
Yes.
All right, and in fact, it was very positive. There was no negative comments during that meeting by the general membership, were there?
No.
All right, and we had planned a further meeting with the board to work out the details of the memorandum of understanding. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And then that meeting was abruptly canceled by Highlandtown Community Association, informing us that they were opposing the application and rejecting any new liquor stores in Highlandtown. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Commissioners have any follow-up?
No.
None.
All right, let's bring Ms. Hecker in.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Caroline Hecker, Rosenberg, Martin, Greenberg. I represent the property owner at Highlandtown Village. It's a BSB Highlandtown LLC. And my involvement here came sort of after Mr. Fogelman had filed an application on behalf of a tenant in our shopping center who proposes to open a bottle shop, which we're very excited about. The question came up about whether the use was permitted there and how the use could be permitted there. And when we researched it, we discovered there's a PUD on the property that has been there since 1986 that specifically allows all of the uses that were allowed in the B2 zoning district back in 1986, which specifically include packaged goods stores. So, unlike other locations that might be in the same zoning district, that may need some additional approval to have a packaged goods store, there is one that's permitted by right at this location under the PUD. Now, a PUD is, I know Commissioner Reisinger knows well, is enacted by the city council to act as an overlay to the zoning district. And what it does is it creates certainty and predictability for property owners who know that absent some type of amendment or modification to their specific PUD, regardless of what happens with the general zoning code, these uses are going to be allowed on their property. And sometimes they also include uses that are going to be prohibited. This one does not, but it does specifically allow a packaged goods store. So I reached out to the community association as well once I heard from Mr. Fogelman that his client, our tenant, had not had much success in dealing with them. And I think you have copies of my correspondence with them in your file. They wouldn't engage with us to have any kind of meaningful conversation about the proposed use. The tenant is willing to enter into an MOU. The shopping center owner is prepared to support that in any way that they can. We would love to have a productive dialogue with the community, but their position that this use is not something that they want to see there, I think is untenable, because from a zoning perspective, the city council has already determined that this type of use is appropriate at this location. So I'm happy to answer any zoning questions that the board may have, but the property owner does support the tenant's application, and we hope that the board will approve it.
All right, thank you. The commissioners have questions for Ms. Hecker?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
None, sir.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hecker. Let's bring Mr. Maslin in.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. First, Mr. Chair, it's been very frustrating dealing with the board. I've requested a continuance of this matter, and I did not get the courtesy of a response till 2 days ago. I can't understand the lack of courtesy of the board in responding, but they responded 2 days ago. They were denying the request.
Mr. Maslin?
I represent a licensee and several members of the community association.
So
And
your client, you have a licensee and individual members of the community association? Or
yes, and a pastor that operates a church within 300 feet of this location.
Okay, and what are their names?
The pastor's name is, I have in my office, Sylvia O, who operates Eaton Liquors. Excuse me. Pastor Larry Lawson, Kevin Lee, he lives at I think 101 Eaton Street. Sonia Garcia lives at 224 South Patterson Park Avenue. Santos, what's your last name? Gerara lives at 3523 East Baltimore Street. Yvonne Valle lives at 3919 East Lombard Street.
Okay.
And preliminarily, Judge, if I could, this applicant is not truthful. He indicated that he lived at 638 East or South Broadway. 638 South Broadway is the liquor store that this application is coming from. He does not live there, Judge.
Wait a minute. Objection. Is this cross-examination? Is it argument?
But I don't have any testimony to that effect. So, Mr. Maslin.
Well, Your Honor, I'm going to offer myself, if I could, because I did a thorough investigation of this matter. I brought it to the attention of the board, and the board neglected to pursue it. It's outrageous, in my opinion, that the board, when it's brought to their attention, false statements made in an application that they didn't pursue it. The owner of this property is a Mr. Jazdansk. He's an elderly gentleman.
I'm going to object.
Stop for a second, please. First of all, and I'm not very concerned what you're outraged about. I'd like to know what the facts are. So if you know the rules of professional conduct, you can't both represent and testify as a material.
I understand. That's why I asked for a continuance so I could subpoena in Mr. Jazdansk. He's an elderly man.
You asked us to subpoena people in, and we don't do that on behalf of your clients who aren't parties to the action.
Well,
and you see, we're not rude to you, and you got to stop with all this nonsense. So you represent certain people who oppose this. Do you want to have them testify or not?
Well, I do, Your Honor. I want to bring some other things to your attention. And the notice that went out by Mr. Blendy indicated that this was for 3800 East Lombard Street, Unit 12. This is actually Unit 13. Furthermore, he indicated that there was a use and occupancy permit application submitted. The only use and occupancy permit application that I found in your file, I believe it was for Mount Everest LLC. It is not this applicant.
Well, those are questions that should have been addressed to Mr. Blendy. Mr. Blendy, are you aware of any of that?
I'll note that the notice on the screen references 3800 East Lombard Street, number 13, not number 12, and that's what would have gone out. Regarding the use and occupancy, I am not aware of this issue, but as the board knows, staff will not complete the transfer legally of a liquor license until all of the required paperwork, including a use and occupancy in the correct name of the LLC or the whatever business entity the board approves. I think Ms. Hecker actually can probably mention that I have stopped one of her clients for that, just a mistake made on their end. But that is a thing that we take care of ministerial pending board determinations of an approved business entity.
Well, Your Honor, I would submit that the use and occupancy certificate's in the name of a different LLC.
Well, they're not going to obviously receive a license in that name. So what else do you have?
Well, I'd like to cross-examine the applicant if I could, Your Honor.
I'm going to object at this time because, we've got Mr. Maslin testifying or threatening to testify, and yet he's saying he's, okay, go ahead, sorry.
I think he's afraid of me cross-examining his client.
No, I just want to understand what role you have. You've just stated that you are.
We believe
Gentlemen, I'm running these proceedings, not you two. So, okay.
Mr. Chair, I just muted everyone so you could be heard. Let me know when you wish to allow me to unmute people.
You may unmute them, please. This is not a shouting match over one another. This is a hearing. Mr. Maslin, I'm not sure whether you're here as a witness or an attorney.
No, I want to be able to cross-examine on behalf of my client, the applicant.
I want to be able to testify, which you can't do both.
Well,
So-
obviously I can't testify. That's why I asked for a continuance, which you denied. So
Yes,
I'd like at least an opportunity to cross-examine the applicant.
Okay, could you please present whatever testimony you have, and then we'll see where we are? I asked you to get representatives who would testify if you have them. Do you
Sure,
have-
absolutely.
So,
Would you?
so if I may, Mr. Chair, for whatever reason, I cannot move Mr. Maslin into the panel, so they won't be able to turn on their cameras. But if the board waives the rule, they can take testimony if that's the chair's wishes.
And why can't they be on camera?
For whatever Webex reason, I can't make it happen, and I don't know if it's technology or. But if the board wishes to take non-video testimony, they may waive the rule.
Okay, well, so who do we have, Mr. Maslin?
I have Sylvia O. I have the pastor from the church.
Okay.
That is a legal impediment to this application going forward, Your Honor.
I understand. It's a fact question for the board. Okay, so let's swear in Ms. O.
All right. Raise your hand, Ms. O.
Okay, and first, actually, would I be able to get the spelling of her name, please?
Sylvia, Silviaoh.
Okay. All right, Ms. O, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Yes. No.
I'm
Thanks.
sorry.
And you'll have to speak up because it's hard to hear.
Speak up, Ms. O.
Yeah. I'm very seriously badly packed.
Now, Ms. O, you own and operate a packaged liquor store at 101 South Eaton Street. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's approximately 1 block away from this location. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you believe that the opening of this store will adversely affect your business there?
Of course.
Of course. How much do you have invested in your business at that location?
I'm invest more than 1 million.
More than $1 million you have invested in your location.
Yes.
You believe the opening of this store will seriously impact your business?
Very bad impact.
Now, how many other liquor establishments where you can buy packaged liquors are available in the immediate vicinity of this location?
11.
11 other.
More than 11.
And how close are the other 11?
In 2 miles.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I believe the board has in your file the 11 other packaged liquor stores in close proximity to this.
I believe that it was proffered by Mr. Fogelman that there were going to be 12 with this. Yes.
Yes, all right. And do you believe there's any public need or desire for another liquor license in that location to sell packaged liquors?
No.
No. All right. Did you speak with representatives of the community?
Yes.
And did you secure signatures on a petition?
Yeah, a lot.
And how many signatures did you get in opposition to this?
Almost 300 over.
Over 300.
Over.
And I'd like to read into the record, if I could, what was on the protest to transfer the license. It said, "We, the undersigned residents."
Objection.
Wait a minute. Before we go there, do we have this letter?
They were submitted to the board, Your Honor.
Is it in our record?
It should be in the binder in your records, Mr. Chairman.
I'm not sure I have it, but go. All right. So
There were 300 signatures.
all right. Okay. So, well, if we have it, then why are you reading it to us?
Well, I don't have to read it to you if you have it. I don't know if you have it.
Okay. Anyway, so I understand we've got 300
Right.
people who've signed. Say
300 signatures.
Okay.
Now, do you believe that this man that's coming in there will offer any products different than what you're offering? Do you offer wines in your store?
Yes.
let's see.
Yes.
That's all we have of Miss O at this point.
All right. Well, Mr. Fogelman, do you want to ask her any questions?
Very briefly, thank you. Now, Miss O, you realize that 50,000 people live within a 2-mile radius of your shop, right? What I mean
Well, I don't
is,
think she ever counted on Mr. Fogelman.
right. Miss O, you believe that this will hurt your business, but you have no evidence or expert testimony to substantiate that claim. Isn't that right?
That's pretty obvious to us, Mr. Fogelman. Do you have any questions?
And Miss O, you don't carry Checker Spot beer, do you?
Checker spot beer.
What's that? Never heard of it.
Never heard of it, Mr. Fogelman.
Okay, all right then. And Mrs. O, you sell for Loco, don't you?
No. I never.
No?
No.
No.
She doesn't believe so.
So if someone bought a Four Loco in your store, that didn't happen, right?
For Loco. Wait.
No.
Okay.
No, she's indicated. I don't think they have that.
I'm asking Miss O the question, please.
No.
Okay.
You
So
can't
you
hear me?
don't.
No.
Okay, thank you. And Miss O, you don't sell single beers to go, do you?
No.
No?
What did you say?
Single beers. Do you sell single beers?
Yes.
Okay.
Single beer, yes.
And you sell rolling papers, right?
Mr. Chairman, what does all this have to do with anything?
I'm not sure, but you didn't object, but I'll sustain if you object. Do you have any,
Thank you. I have no further questions for Ms. O.
you want to call your other witness?
Yes, you state your name for the record, please.
Pastor Larry Lawson.
This is Larry Lawson. Mr. Lawson, I believe you, does he need to be sworn, Your Honor?
He does. He's going to
All
testify.
right. Raise your right hand, Mr. Lawson.
Okay, and that's Lawson, Lawson.
Yes.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Now, Mr. Lawson, what is your occupation?
I'm a full-time pastor.
You're a full-time ordained minister?
Yes.
And do you have a church?
Yes.
And where's your church located?
4113 East Lombard Street.
And is that an incorporated church?
Yes.
And are you registered with the state of Maryland?
Yes.
And what is the name of the church?
A House of Prayer of the Apostolic Faith.
And how often do you have services at that location?
Right now, every Sunday.
And how long has your church been there?
Ever since 2002.
Continuously since 2002. And every Sunday you have services?
Yes.
And is that church within 300 feet of this location?
Objection.
And Your Honor, that has been measured by your offices.
I don't know. You don't need to testify.
No, I'm just.
Your witness is testifying. If he doesn't know, fine. If he knows.
Well, he does. Well, he's indicated that it is within 300 feet.
Well, well, I don't know. Is he going to speak into the record?
Yeah, sure. Mr. Lawson, is it within 300 feet?
It's within 300 feet.
Okay. Anything else?
And do you object to this liquor store being there at this location, 3800?
Yes, I don't see why it's needful for another liquor store to be there. I don't have anything against the individual, but during the years I've been there, I have to. People set alcohol bottles in front of my door and break glass. I had to go and clean up every morning before service opened. That's how close the liquor stores are. Where my church is at.
Do you believe this opening is this liquor store is necessary for the public need and accommodation or in the public interest?
No.
Do you believe it'll increase crime, littering in the community?
It definitely will increase littering.
Anything else with this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Spiegelman, do you have questions for Mr.
I'll be
Lawson?
brief. Thank you. Pastor Lawson, your church has a Facebook website that hasn't been active in 7 years. Isn't that right?
That's not true.
Okay. Pastor Lawson, you didn't tell the board that you're right across from 2 bars. Isn't that right? And including a 3rd liquor license with the catering shop, right?
Right.
All right. So you're not going to be able to blame a liquor store that's not in business yet for any of the problems at your church, right?
Exactly.
All right. And despite operating since 2002, you still have a vinyl sign hanging from the roof saying that it's a church, right?
Right.
You don't have a full permanent masthead, right?
No.
Okay. And finally, you are aware that you don't have a use permit to operate as a house of worship. Isn't that right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Would it surprise you if the zoning administrator for Baltimore City said that not only does your address not have a permit for use as a house of worship, but no address on that block has ever applied for such a permit?
Well, the whole block is commercial, and when you have a commercial license, you could do that. And furthermore, I'm not the owner.
Okay. Would it surprise you if the zoning administrator for Baltimore City said that your house of worship, as you call it, was located in an I-2 industrial district?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Would it further surprise you to learn that places of worship are not permitted in industrial districts?
I never heard that before.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Maslin, is that all of the testimony?
No, we have several other people here, Judge.
So,
And I would like to cross-examine the applicant, Judge.
well, I know you would, but it would be nice if you hadn't provided testimony. I'm confused. Who else do you have?
I
asked you to get representative to speak on behalf of your clients and then have the others submitted in writing. Did you submit anything in writing?
Submit what, Your Honor? I didn't hear you.
I said, we asked that you identify a representative to speak on behalf of your clients and have the others submit their testimony in writing. Did you submit anything in writing?
No, they came here personally to testify.
Well, that's not what I asked you to do. So pick a representative and let's hear, because they're probably all going to say the same thing.
Yeah, their testimony would be cumulative. That is correct.
All right, let's pick one representative and do that then.
All right, would you state your name for the record?
My name is Yvonne Valet.
Ms. Belay, you a resident of the community there?
Has to be sworn.
Oh,
Swear her in. Okay.
yes,
Okay.
and would I be able to get the spelling of her name, please?
YVONNEVALLEE.
Okay, thank you. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
All right, now, what is your address, ma'am?
3919 East Lombard Street.
Now, you're here to offer testimony in opposition to this proposed location and liquor license, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And do you believe that this license is necessary to serve the needs of the public?
No.
Do you believe that if this license is issued, it would affect, cause an increase in crime and litter in the community?
Yes, I do. And I also think that it would be a problem for the people in the co-op that live directly across the street, which would endanger a lot of people's lives if they open that up there.
Do you believe that this license would adversely impact the other liquor establishments in the area economically?
Almost definitely.
All right, thank you. I don't know the further questions of this, this witness. The other individuals, Your Honor, that are present in where is it? Kevin Lee, Sonia Garrison, Santos Guevara, Yvonne Vallee, their testimony would be cumulative, and we'd ask that that be accepted as such.
Yes. Did they all make their opposition known to the zoning board when the matter came up, or to the city council when the PUD was passed?
Did they? There. I don't know, that PUD what goes back. I don't know when it was passed, Judge.
1986.
No, I'm sure not, but that's not a PUD doesn't control things, Judge. It's whether or not it meets the.
Asking if they were consistent in their opposition. Have they been opposing this since it was first authorized, and did they oppose it at the zoning board?
Did you oppose this back in 1986?
I wasn't here in 1986.
Well, none of them were here in 86, Your Honor.
Well, they were here when the zoning board authorized it.
I moved up here in 96.
When did the zoning board authorize it, Judge?
Well, I don't know. It says right here that they gave them a permit for the use of 3800 East Lombard Street as a retail store, off-premise sales of packaged goods per PUD.
You're talking about what? They didn't give them a permit, Judge. It was a permit was issued for something called another entity, not this applicant.
All right. So
if you look in your board, but I would like to have an opportunity to cross-examine the witness regarding his inconsistency. I'd point out to the board that in your file, Judge.
We haven't finished with your witness, first of all. Does Mr. Fogman,
All right, that's all she has to offer.
But I'm asking Mr. Fogman if he has questions for her.
Just one. Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Laws, I'm sorry. Ma'am?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you ever visit Eaton Liquors?
Do I ever go to Eaton Liquors?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Do you go to the liquor store that the owner just testified who's with you?
Yes.
You go to her store?
Yes.
Okay, and you signed her petition at the store when you were a customer, right?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Okay. So, all right. So we'll assume that the other persons with you, Mr. Maslin, would give the same testimony. Anything further?
Yeah, that's right, Your Honor. Now, Judge, I would like to bring to the board's attention that this gentleman filed with this board his LLC documents. In the LLC documents, he lists himself as the resident agent. He also lists his address as 3705 Perry Hall Road, Perry Hall, Maryland. That is an address which is in Baltimore County.
Thank you.
You should have it in your package, and that's what is there.
All right. Anything further?
No, Judge, other than the fact we would like to have an opportunity to cross-examine the witness.
And what is it that you want to ask him?
Well, he puts down on his application, Judge, he lives at 638 South Broadway. 638 South Broadway is a liquor store.
Well,
that's
that he slept above this.
That's not what he put on the application. He put on the application lives at 638 Broadway.
Well,
we don't.
My reading 620.
And we believe that is that is fictitious. He has a home in Baltimore County. He has a wife, and we believe that he stays with his wife, not at this location.
Well, let me clarify. Mr. Fogelman, can I ask your client some questions?
Absolutely. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Chetri, where are you living presently?
628 South Broadway.
How long have you
And
lived?
I sleep in 626 South Broadway. That's my family own both property.
And do you have another home?
Yeah, I have a second home in Baltimore County. My wife live there, my kids live there.
But you don't live with them.
No, I visit them.
Tell them that you're planning.
And end of this year, school year, I'm trying to find house in Baltimore City. After this school year, I'll move my kids to the Baltimore City.
All right. So, and who owns 628 South Broadway?
Yeah, my family, my cousin.
Okay, so it's a family property and you're staying there. That's what you're telling me?
Yeah, he owned next door 626 South Broadway, and he owned liquor store 628 South Broadway.
All right, Mr. Maslin.
If Your Honor, please, most respectfully, if you go to SDAT, you will find that 638 or 628 South Broadway is owned by Mr. Jadansk. I brought that to the attention of the board. And further, he just testified, Judge, if you heard him correctly, and I heard him distinctly, he says he's staying at 626 South Broadway. That is not 628 South Broadway. That's the property that his relative owns.
Yeah.
If you could get him to clarify that one, Judge, I would appreciate it.
Well, I think he just said that, but so I think he said he's staying at 626, that it's owned by a relative. Yeah.
Well, 626, yes, but it's not 628. That's the point I'm making, to Your Honor, most respectfully.
And the point being that he misstated it, or what?
Absolutely. There's a big difference in you say you lived at 628, and he really lives at 626. He never made any attempt to correct it. Further, Judge, he's only lived there 2 weeks. It's clear that this is a sham just to get this license through. He moved, he got a driver's license and it says 628. 628's a liquor store. It doesn't say second floor. He's now said it's 626. He's misstated something under oath.
Your Honor, when Mr. Maslin is done, I'd like to be heard on that.
Okay. All right. We're going to wrap this up. So let's hear it from you, Mr. Fogelman.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Mr. Chetry made 628 South Broadway his residence when he moved here. There is a bed and an apartment above 628 to 30 South Broadway, which is in fact the liquor store, the building owned by Mr. Jan Yandasek, which his niece Muna Karki is the licensee and operator of that building. The next door, 626 South Broadway, is also owned by his cousin, and he has spent some nights in 626. He has spent nights in 628, but he clearly made his intention as a resident at 628 South Broadway and holds himself out as a resident thereof, including registering to vote there, including getting a driver's license there, including, as he just told the board, that he's looking to move his family down full time here. But most importantly is the case of Blount v. Boston in this matter, Maryland Court of Appeals. His intent to where he lives, he's checked all the boxes off legally as far as that goes.
Mr. Fogelman, I think you're the first lawyer who's ever cited that case that I've ever heard of. That's one of the strangest cases that was ever cited. But anyway, all right. I think we've heard enough. So commissioners have any questions with respect to any of the testimony?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner,
Can I be heard, Judge?
let me just find out if Commissioner Jones has any questions. You still with us?
None.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mr. Maslin, briefly, go ahead.
Well, you denied me the opportunity to cross-examine this gentleman. We'd really like to know how he's going to operate this business and what he's going to do. The board offered, Mr. Fogelman offered him some preliminary questions, but clearly what you have here, Mr. Fogelman's client has to establish that there's a public need and desire for this license. There's been petitions offered by by the protestants and the community organization stating that there is no public need or desire for this license. That is borne out by the fact there's 11 other liquor establishments in this area. Clearly, there's no need or desire for this license. He hasn't established that this license won't impact on the other liquor establishments. Miss O, who operates a liquor store in the area, has $1 million investment, has said that it will impact upon her. Obviously, that doesn't take much to suggest that if another liquor store is in close proximity to your business, it's going to adversely affect upon her. And it'll clearly affect the other 11 stores that are there. That business has to come from somewhere, and it will come from those other stores. For those reasons, he hasn't met and satisfied all of these licenses, all of these issues. The final thing is he has to show that he's a fit and proper person to have this license. Clearly, I believe that he has made misrepresentations of facts. One of the things in the application, he says that he's estimated 40 seats. Well, there's no testimony about any seating here, but he also says he lives at 628 South Broadway, and he says he's lived there for 2 weeks. Now, and then when Your Honor asked him the questions, he brings up 626. Well, that's a different building, Your Honor. There's a big difference between 628 and 626. You can't say you live in both places. He also says he has a house. His wife doesn't live with him. His wife lives someplace else in a lovely home in Baltimore County. I think the court should be able to take judicial knowledge of the land records in Baltimore City. If the court would do an SDAT search of that building, you will see who the owner is. He has not offered and has tried to establish a lease agreement, a rent receipt, any documentation whatsoever that would indicate a residency at that location. And there's substantial confusion as to where he actually lives. He hasn't demonstrated a real expertise in the sale of alcoholic beverages or any experience that would make him a qualified operator. He hasn't established a security plan, guards, anything that would protect the community. There's nothing that's been offered. What cries out is the community association themselves came out with an opposition. There's petitions in opposition. For all these reasons, he does not meet the necessary criteria to have this license transferred to him at this location. It just is it's outrageous to have a use and occupancy permit that doesn't exist, and the voluminous opposition to it. This board should not grant this transfer. Thank you so much, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, thank you, everybody who's participated. The commissioners have anything further before we proceed?
None, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, may I ask just for the record whether anyone else wishes to testify? Because I don't think I've asked that question. Is that all right, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, I thought we already found out who wanted to testify.
I think that's correct, but if any other member of the public wishes to testify, please raise your hand in the Webex platform. No one else has raised their hand, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Mr. Blendy. All right. All right. Council, for all of you, I'm going to bring an end to this. So I'm prepared to rule.
Can I please, just a closing? I just want to tie everything together here. There's a lot here.
I don't need it. We've gone on long enough. I don't need it. I don't think the other commissioners do either. So I'm going to call it quits. On the basis of the materials contained in the application, on the basis of the materials that have been submitted to the board subsequent to the application, and including the letter from the Baltimore Department of Housing and Community Development with respect to the fact that there are no other authorized places of worship in the community, having made the appropriate credibility determination based on the testimony presented this morning, and having listened to the proffers of counsel. I vote to approve the application to transfer ownership and location of this Class A beer, wine, and liquor license presently located at 628 South Broadway to 3800 East Lombard Street, number 13, known as 3872 East Lombard Street. Commissioners?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, based on the testimony and material provided today, I approve the application to transfer ownership and location of a Class A beer, wine, liquor license presently located at 628 South Broadway to the location of 3800 East Lombard Street, number 13, also known as 3872 East Lombard Street.
Based on the application file and the letter from the zoning administrator, which states that there aren't any legal churches within 300 feet of this liquor establishment. The letter was dated 2/11/22, and the testimony given, I approve to transfer the ownership and location of a Class A BWL license presently located at 628 South Broadway Street to 3800 East Lombard Street, number 13, known as 3872 East Lombard Street.
Thank you. Ms. Russell?
Medical exhibits for the record. Exhibits in opposition, number 1. Protest in opposition, number 2. Letter in opposition from Highlandtown Community Association dated 10/4/2021. Applicant, exhibit number 1, email dated 10/4/2021. 2. Bill 1245, ordinance 679. 3. Zoning Code B2. And 4. Petition of support.
Okay, thank Mr. Fogelman, Ms. Hecker,
Thank
Mr. Kaplan, thank you all for your participation. That brings us to a conclusion.
That concludes this matter before the board. Applicant will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with instructions on how to legally complete the transfer that was preliminarily approved by the board today, which by law must occur within 180 days of today's hearing. That, I believe, is the final matter, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners.
All right, you want to read the adjournment then, please?
I would, Mr. Chair. The board will be in recess until March 17th, 2022. The board shall post on its website, provide notice to applicants and/or attorneys, and conduct a virtual hearing on this date. Please call our office at 410-396-4377 between 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. with any questions or concerns that you have on this matter or any other.
Thank you, Mr. Blendy. Thank you to the commissioners and the staff, as always, do a great job. All those who participated today, and good luck to those who have undertaken these new licenses and new rights under their licenses. So we'll see you next week.
Off the record.
Thank you.
Off the record.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great